As a stylist who is still currently working behind the chair, I'm no stranger to being asked about whatever's currently trending on social media and coming across my clients' For You pages. Recently, I've had a few clients ask me about my opinion on the Abbey Yung method. I'm going to be very transparent. I had no idea what they were talking about. And while I don't know everything about everything, I do know enough to be able to weigh in on various recommended methods, trending product routines. I don't really know what to call it. I figured, why not share my thoughts at a first look at the Abbey Yung method right here on my channel. Okay, so first off, who is Abbey Yung? Abbey Yung is a certified trichologist and content creator who's known for her science-backed approach to hair, skin, and wellness. She gained widespread popularity across TikTok and Instagram for debunking beauty myths and creating, or should I say curating, the Abbey Yung method. I do want to interject here for a moment to share that trichology, while it is a certification that anyone can get, a trichologist is not a doctor, so I don't want that to be mistaken in this conversation today. You do not need to hold a medical degree to become a trichologist. At the time of filming this video, trichology is a certification that is not recognized by the medical board here in the US. And trichologists are not allowed to diagnose or prescribe their clients, much like a cosmetologist. I've definitely said that before about my license, but I do want to reiterate these things here just so that we have that in mind as I go through this. And just a little bit of a disclaimer. Now that that's out of the way, what is the Abbey Yung method? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The Abbey Yung method is a framework designed to help users build their custom hair care routine. Key pillars of this method include science-backed focus, emphasizing scalp health and preventing breakage rather than just the traditional outcome and goal of faster hair growth, drugstore favorites, and no ingredient fear-mongering. This method normalizes using sulfates, silicones, and parabens in your hair care and using them correctly. The last pillar is flexibility framework. This 11-step routine offers various options for wash days, as well as mixing and matching the steps tailored to your specific hair type rather than just doing every single step every time, which I'm glad she has that disclaimer because nobody needs an 11-step hair care routine. That's ridiculous. I'm buckled in. I'm along for the ride. Let's dive in. In a pinned Instagram post, Young writes, "I've seen all of your requests and I'm so excited to finally deliver a written guide for the Abbey Yung method. This is intended to be a high-level overview with product recommendations for every step of the process. And because this method is designed to be built and customized for your personal hair and scalp type, you'll notice a lot of steps are listed as optional. The purpose of this is not to suggest that you need to follow every single one of these steps to have healthy hair, because you don't, but instead to list all of the potential options so that you can pick and choose what works for you. Do what works best for your scalp and hair always. I'm working on adding more product recommendations for serums, heat protectants, and styling, but if you want more options for other product categories, leave it in the comments and I'll add it to my list. Also, let me know if you want more written guides like this for each individual step of the routine with further detail on the product recommendations, application tips, etc. Happy to do more to make this as easy to follow as possible." So the method itself breaks down into 4 parts: pre-shower, in-shower, post-shower, and between shower. And then within each part is a suggested 1 to 4 step process or routine. Part 1 is the pre-shower routine, and it has 2 optional steps. I'm going to be very honest, I don't know anything about the products that she's recommending here. However, I do want to put a disclaimer out there, especially now that Olaplex products are so accessible, K18 is so accessible. Not everybody needs a bond repair product, and not every client who colors their hair needs a bond repair product. Consult your stylist before incorporating one into your routine. That's just my 2 cents. Let's move on to the next step. Second is a pre-shampoo oil treatment. This is an optional step for damaged hair prone to dryness and tangling, at least 20 minutes before washing, and skip on days that you're using a post-shampoo treatment. Okay, so you've probably seen this phenomenon. I think they're calling it hair slugging. If you remember the oil pulling and the oil slugging with skincare. Again, this is a step that I don't fully find necessary. I have mixed feelings on this step altogether, but I do think on a case-by-case basis, it could be effective. However, both steps in this part are optional, so I'm not going to be super pressed on the issue here. Proceed with caution and let's get into the shower routine. Part 2 is the in-shower routine. routine. This consists of 3 steps with an optional step incorporated into the routine. So this includes a double cleanse, 1 clarifying shampoo followed by 1 non-clarifying or medicated shampoo. And the suggested step is to use the clarifying shampoo once a week or as needed. Personally, I love this recommendation. I recommend a clarifying shampoo to quite a good amount of my clients, especially if you're using a lot of products on your hair throughout the week. It does not hurt to use a clarifying shampoo, even if you color your hair, to just get rid of that extra buildup that you get from products. Cannot recommend enough. Of her suggestions, if you are looking for a budget-friendly option, I do like the L'Oreal Everpure, or honestly Pantene for a clarifier is a 10 out of 10 suggestion. And personally, I would not recommend the Garnier or Dove option. I just find that both of those shampoo lines do leave a lot of residue on clients' hair, and especially if you have finer hair, I do notice that they get greasy very quickly if they use shampoos from either of those lines. In my professional opinion, I would avoid those 2. The next step here was the non-clarifying shampoo to use the other days that you're not using a clarifying shampoo, as well as an optional medicated shampoo if you deal with like dry scalp, itchiness, flaky scalp, and to either use that in place of, or you can like alternate back and forth between a non-clarifying shampoo and a medicated shampoo. To be honest with this step, I don't like any of her shampoo suggestions that she has. She puts a lot of emphasis on bond repair products, and like I said before, I personally don't think everybody needs a bond repair type of product, and bond repairs definitely are not for everybody. So I don't think it should be like an overarching recommendation for every single person. If anything, it's a case-by-case basis on when a bond repair shampoo, conditioner, treatment product, whatever is recommended. It's case by case, and you need to explicitly be told that that's what you need to use. Otherwise, I would avoid it. For the medicated shampoos, Head and Shoulders is always a tried and true, and I would definitely agree with the CeraVe recommendation. Anything else that's on here that's medicated, I'd kind of not use unless your dermatologist prescribes it to you. For non-clarifying shampoo recommendations, I would 10 out of 10 recommend finding a non-clarifying shampoo that is aligned with your goals for your hair. When it comes to a budget-friendly option, I'm always an advocate for the L'Oreal Everpure collection. I find for a budget-friendly shampoo, those are the ones I don't mind. Mid-tier, I recommend Way or Redken products. And then when it comes to a more high-end luxury price point, my top 2 recommendations are definitely Oribe and Mr. Smith. And then I might throw Kerastase in the mix too, depending on what you're looking at trying. And then personally, when it comes to shampoos and conditioners, my general rule of thumb to clients is no Dove, no Native, no Aussie, no Tresemme, and absolutely no Suave. Now that that's out of the way, let's keep going. Step 5 is a bond repair, and this is where she suggests K18 use as needed, the rest 1 to 2 times a week. I'm not super well versed in some of these recommendations, and I don't want to keep being a broken record in this video. You know my thoughts on bond repair, so anytime a bond product is brought up for the rest of this video, just know where I stand on bond repair products. Now, as for K18, I am an avid K18 user behind the chair, and I do want to make it explicitly clear here. When you use K18 products in your wash day routine, as soon as you put the treatment on, that is where your wash routine ends. The K18 hair mask is a leave-on treatment. So you will wash your hair, you apply the treatment, and you're done. Don't rinse it out. You are quite literally rinsing money down the drain when you do that. Also, K18 only has to be used, I believe it's every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks. I just do find that a lot of people don't use it correctly, and then it's just a waste of money, and it's not actually doing anything for your hair. So I did just want to put that cautionary piece of advice out there. If you use K18, that is your conditioning product and your treatment, and you don't rinse it out. Moving on, conditioning. Glossing treatments, use at least 1 conditioning product every time you wash. If needed, use more than 1 in same wash. Conditioners and then masks. I personally love conditioning. I love layering different conditioning treatments, and that is because I have naturally curly hair, so it is naturally drier. However, not everybody needs a lot of conditioning products, and not everybody needs a lot of moisture in their hair care routine. Okay, so my PSA that I'm going to throw out there for everybody. My only PSA is please, for the love of God, do not use Amika products. I'm sure I'm going to get banned and blacklisted from something that's connected to Amika, and that is a-okay with me. I understand people love Amika down, but I have never had a good experience with Amika. I cannot stand the products. The amount of buildup that those products give, regardless of hair texture, regardless of hair density, is absolutely diabolical. I am not an Amika girl. I consider this me de-influencing you from ever buying an Amika product. Save your money, use it on something else. You're welcome. Okay, now that that's out of the way, post-wash routines. There are 3 optional steps in this part and only 1 required step. Here we are again, post-wash bond treatment, optional. I'm not going to harp on this again. We know how I feel. Let's keep it moving. If you're a K18 mask user, this is essentially the same step as doing your mask. So as a little PSA to save your coins, if you are someone who wants like a reparative product, use the K18 mask. That is your conditioner, your treatment, and you just leave it on. So like you get 3 products for the price of 1. Do one or the other, but like don't try to do like everything all at once. So the next step is the leave-in conditioner and heat protectant. Apply liberally after every wash. I agree with this. This is great. An amazing suggestion. Everybody should be using some type of heat protection at some point along the process of doing their hair. Definitely something on wet hair, definitely something on dry hair, but doing it on your wet hair, it's going to help seal the heat protection into the cuticle as your hair dries. So definitely recommend this. And of her recommendations here, the only one I really piggyback on and agree with is the One United from Redken. That is a really good one of the ones listed here. Next up, we have styling. This is an optional step, but this is where you would start applying your serums, your creams and lotions, and your oils. And the styling recommendations here are kind of all over the place, but styling products are so personal. So definitely like experiment with what works best for your hair and go with that. I do have a few different like short form videos on like styling recommendations for different hair types and textures. So if you want to check those out when you're done watching this video, head over to my socials and check them out. Everything is linked below. So the next is between washes, and there are 3 optional steps for things you can do to like upkeep your hair in between your wash days: conditioning, heat protection, and dry shampoo. So for conditioning, I just say proceed with caution when you're using oil, especially on dry hair, especially if you have a finer hair texture. Personally, I would not recommend any of the suggestions on here. What I would suggest is the Odell hair oil, the Way lightweight oil, or the Verb ghost oil. Those are 2 really great lightweight oil options. The Mr. Smith luxury oil is also a great suggestion. Heat protection. Personally, when I use heat protection on my hair when it's dry, I prefer an aerosol heat protectant. Your hair isn't going to get damp. It's easier to go in with hot tools after, and it's just overall easier to use. You don't have to worry about your hair being wet from the product and then cinching when you use the heat. The recommendations here are all great, and I would recommend any of them. Okay, and then dry shampoo. Dry shampoo can be like the fickle friend in your arsenal of hair care products. It's definitely one that can be used and abused very easily, so proceed with caution when you utilize a dry shampoo in your restyling and refreshing routine. I definitely recommend it on oily hair. However, I think once you blow dry your hair, because yes, if you have oily hair, you should be blow drying your hair to help slow your oil production throughout the day. Once it's 100% dry, apply the dry shampoo right after, like in sections to your root, and this will help you be able to get at least through the full day, maybe even get a second day out of your style before you have to redo it. I also say if you do decide to use a dry shampoo, only use it one time before you wash. If you're constantly caking it in there and caking it in there and caking it in there, that's when you're going to start getting like really bad buildup. You might start experiencing different issues with your scalp. Overusing it can also clog your follicle, which can lead to excess hair shedding and just a bunch of other complications that we would like to avoid. And my recommendations are for sure the Living Proof Perfect Hair Day dry shampoo, the Living Proof Advanced Clean dry shampoo, as well as the Mr. Smith dry shampoos. I think I covered all of the elements of the Abbey Yung method. Overall, I think there are some great components in here, and I'm glad there's a distinction on the optional steps because at face value, this is a little excessive. So in my opinion, looking at this method, the steps, and the recommendations, I would recommend that every routine has a clarifying shampoo, non-clarifying shampoo, a conditioner or a mask, a leave-in with thermal protection, and then stylers of your choosing. If you would like a more curated and targeted routine, I would recommend consulting with your hairstylist and then go from there. Have you heard of the Abbey Yung Method? Have you tried it? Share your experience down below. I would love to hear and chat some more. Let me know if there are any other viral hair routines, techniques, products, or tools that you've been curious about, and I'll take a deeper look at some of them for future videos. And be sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun diving into this method and learning a little bit more about a very viral routine, so it was eye-opening. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.